So, doctor, you've been on this this trek for 5, 6
Almost
years?
5 years, 4.5
Okay.
years.
So, and you mentioned that it's just your husband's just one case, but you saw improvement with coconut oil with his Alzheimer's. In the last 5 years, what else have you seen, with other patients that have tried this throughout the country?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so it didn't get out in the big press, but it got out in the grassroots method. I basically tried to present this information at the Alzheimer's Association in the exhibit hall in 2008. I had written an article, and it basically was a case study of Axona, and they had a booth. They just weren't, it just wasn't available at that point. But they turned me down, and they wouldn't let me distribute the information. And this was to 5,000 researchers. And my feeling about that was these people are intelligent enough that they can read this and decide is this something that is logical. I mean, it's biochemistry 101, but I hope to stimulate research that maybe someone there would pick up the gauntlet, and research ketones. But that didn't happen. So I started, I had written an article, and I started distributing it to health food stores locally. And then the St. Petersburg Times in Tampa picked up on it, and they ran a story. And that's when it really started getting out on the internet. And then after that, I started hearing back from people who had also tried it. And I've personally collected about 220 case reports. Most of them are people with various types of dementias, mostly Alzheimer's. But I have heard from, for example, there's a man with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, and he's been taking about 9 tablespoons of coconut oil now for over 3 years, and he's been stable for 3 years. And this is a disease where it's uniformly fatal, usually by 3 to 5 years into the disease. And he's been stable now for almost 4 years. He was 2 years into the disease at that point. He is actually the 700 Club. They did a little story on Steve and I last January, and they are going to run a follow-up story, and he's interviewed. He's going to be on this story. Also a man with Parkinson's, he'll be featured. He started taking it last January and regained balance so that he was able to start skiing again and some things, interesting things like that. But I've heard from about maybe 15 people with Parkinson's that feel that they've had a significant improvement. Some of them are subtle, more gradual, and some people are fairly dramatic. I felt that Steve was relatively dramatic. Over 2 weeks, he had really a lot of symptoms had improved, just over a relatively short time.
You mentioned you had over 200 cases that you have seen. When it comes to Alzheimer's or dementia, what's the, I don't want to say success rate, but have a majority of them seen improvement, or at least a slowing down of the progression? Or?
Yeah, it's a little hard to say because I don't know the people that write to me. If they don't respond, I think they're less likely to write to me.
Sure.
The people that have, but I do have people that write to me and say we saw absolutely no response. But I'd say 9 out of 10 people that write to me feel that there was some improvement.
Okay.